The lecture hall of the Galactic Survival Academy was built to impress. The ceiling curved high above like the inside of a massive dome, filled with slow-moving stars projected by soft blue light. Rows of seats rose in wide arcs, each one designed for a different species. Some seats were filled with tall insect-like beings, others with scaled reptilians, furred mammals, floating gas breathers in transparent tanks, and many more shapes that no single world could ever produce. At the center of the hall stood Instructor Velthane. Velthane was old by his species' standards. His long silver-blue skin had grown dull with age, and thin ridges along his head marked decades of survival research. He had taught at the Academy for over 100 cycles and had personally classified dozens of worlds as uninhabitable. His voice carried authority, calm and sharp at the same time. Behind him, a massive holographic display glowed to life. "Today," Velthane said, "we will discuss the final category of planetary classification. Worlds so hostile that long-term intelligent life should not exist upon them." A ripple of quiet movement passed through the students. Even those from harsh environments leaned forward. Death worlds were legendary, often spoken of in hushed tones, rarely studied in detail. Velthane raised one long finger and the image zoomed closer. Most civilizations evolve on stable planets, predictable climates, manageable gravity, limited predators, weak microbial threats. These conditions allow intelligence to grow without constant extinction. Entire regions destroyed without warning. Creatures that evolve only to kill. Any one of these traits, Velthane said, has caused total extinction events across the galaxy. Or infamous, stories about it circulated in survival academies, military briefings, and exploration warnings. Most students had heard the name before, but few had studied it closely. Velthane turned to face the class fully. Earth's gravity is higher than standard. Its climate shifts violently between extremes. Its surface is constantly reshaped by internal forces. Over 70% of its surface is covered by liquid that can drown most air breathers. Its land hosts millions of predatory species. They exist everywhere. This is why Earth has long been classified as a Category 5 death world. Crew loss. He was shorter than most, with no visible claws, no thick scales, no fur, no armor. His skin was smooth and exposed. His eyes were forward-facing, alert but calm. He wore the standard Academy uniform, slightly modified to fit his body. Eli was a human. He had been listening quietly since the lecture began. He did not frown or smile. He did not shift in his seat. His posture was relaxed, almost casual. As Velthane spoke, Eli's eyes followed the holograms. Storms, quakes, predators, microbes, none of it was new to him. He had lived it. Every human had. Velthane turned back to the class. "For these reasons," the instructor said, "Earth stands as proof that some worlds are simply not meant for life. They are obstacles, not homes. Any species encountering such a planet should avoid it at all costs." It was small compared to the others. 5 fingers, no claws, no talons, no extra joints. For a moment, no one noticed. Velthane continued speaking. "In future lessons, we will examine controlled hazard worlds." His eyes narrowed when he spotted the raised hand at the back. The murmurs began again, quieter this time. "A human," someone whispered. Velthane studied Eli for a long second. His expression was unreadable. "Yes," the instructor said at last. "Do you have a question?" "May I speak?" "Do you believe it to be incorrect?" Velthane's eyes remained fixed on the human. "Explain," he said. Eli looked around the hall. He saw fear, curiosity, doubt. He saw students who had grown up on safe worlds, controlled climates, predictable dangers. He looked back at the instructor. "You explained why no species should survive Earth," Eli said. "But you did not explain what happens to a species that does." "This is not a debate class." "We lost millions," Eli continued. "Again and again, entire cities, entire cultures, sometimes entire generations. Earth punished mistakes immediately." No movement. Velthane's gaze never left Eli. "You claim," the instructor said, "that humans adapted rather than perished." "This discussion," he said carefully, "will continue." And in that quiet moment, every student in the hall realized something had changed. The lecture hall remained quiet long after Eli had returned to his seat. Even Velthane seemed momentarily unprepared to continue, his usual composure shaken by the human's words. The holographic Earth still rotated above them, white clouds drifting over oceans, green continents dotted with deserts and forests. The planets behind it had faded, leaving the focus entirely on the world that had shaped Eli and his species. Finally, Velthane spoke, his voice low, deliberate. "Cadets, you have heard what the human says. Let us examine it carefully without preconceptions." Most had been raised to believe that Earth was a nightmare no intelligent species could endure. Now the human sat quietly among them, calm and small, yet somehow commanding attention far beyond his size. Eli raised his hand again, and Velthane gestured for him to speak. "Instructor," Eli began, "I will try to explain why humans survived, though you have stated it is impossible. Perhaps understanding this will help you see a pattern other species overlook. The more impossible the world, the more it forces us to improve. That is how we survive. Some perished to disease, some were hunted by predators. We lost more than we gained for a long time. But each failure became a lesson for those who remained. Survival was never guaranteed, so every human learned quickly or died. That is true of other species. What makes humans unique? We do not wait for the world to be safe. We make ourselves safe. Each challenge made us stronger in ways that other species never experience. Cooperation is built into us because survival often requires teamwork. We cannot rely on instinct alone. A predator can kill us, a storm can destroy our shelter, a disease can strike without warning. If we are to survive, we must communicate, plan, and share knowledge. Humans adapted fast because failure was never an option. We created tools, shelters, medicines, and strategies before instinct alone could keep us alive. We used our minds to fill the gaps where our bodies could not protect us. On Earth, the strong die if they cannot think. The fast die if they cannot plan. The clever die if they cannot cooperate. Intelligence is survival itself. We lose, but our losses teach us faster than anything else. A failed hunt teaches the next generation to hunt smarter. A disease teaches the next to prevent it. Every mistake is a lesson. Every death strengthens the species. They carried knowledge forward. Over time, those who remained were capable of surviving even what killed their ancestors. But how do you survive natural disasters like earthquakes or volcanoes that cannot be planned for? A species that relies on instinct alone would perish. That pressure created a species that could survive not by luck, but by skill, intelligence, and resilience. Over thousands of generations, we learned to survive everything Earth could throw at us. Each image shows survival in progress, not perfection, not ease, just persistence. Humans survived because we turned every danger into a teacher, every failure into knowledge, and every struggle into strength. That is why Earth did not kill us, it made us stronger. The human had not argued with bravado or aggression. He had explained simply and clearly how survival could teach a species to surpass any expectation. Eli continued, "And we did not just survive, we thrived. We learned to manipulate our environment. We tamed fire, cultivated food, built shelters, and later built cities and machines. Every skill we developed came from the need to survive, not from comfort. That is why humans are feared by some, admired by others, and misunderstood by all. That is why we endure. It is remarkable because Earth forced it to be so." For the first time in the lecture hall's history, the class understood that survival was not about avoiding danger but about learning to overcome it. And humans had done it better than anyone could have imagined. Eli sat quietly, his explanation complete. No one spoke. Even Velthane remained silent, lost in thought. The room hummed with the quiet realization that the galaxy's assumptions about Earth and its humans were incomplete. The human cadet had changed everything, not with force, not with threats, but with simple truth. That survival, struggle, and learning were the ultimate teachers. And in that quiet, tense silence, every cadet understood that the galaxy had underestimated humans. After the lecture hall had absorbed Eli's explanation of human survival, the students still could not fully comprehend it. Many of them had spent lifetimes studying the principles of survival. They had been trained to analyze environmental hazards, predator behaviors, and the limits of biology. Yet here was a species that had endured a world that should have ended it countless times. And not only endured, it had thrived. Velthane finally spoke, breaking the silence. "Cadet Carter," he said slowly, "you have explained the theory. Tell us more about the practical aspect. How do humans survive the dangers you describe?" His calm eyes scanned the room, meeting each student's gaze for a moment before he began. Instructor, it is not theory alone that allowed humans to survive. Every danger taught humans a practical skill. Every predator, storm, or disease became a lesson. Let me give you examples. Predators were never the most dangerous threat because humans could run faster or fight harder. We were rarely the fastest, the strongest, or the most dangerous ourselves. What saved us was awareness and strategy. Nearby, a saber-toothed predator crouched watching. We learned to hunt in groups, Eli explained. We learned to observe, predict, and communicate. A single human might not escape a predator, but a team could survive. Tools extended our abilities. Stones became weapons. Fires became deterrents. Every encounter taught us that survival was rarely individual. It was collective. Disease is the most difficult threat because it cannot be seen or predicted by instinct alone. Humans survived by experimenting, by trying different foods, building hygiene practices, observing patterns, and sharing knowledge. Early humans who understood which plants healed, which contaminated water could be treated, and which conditions caused sickness survived more often. Every disease became a teacher, shaping human knowledge and behavior. Humans learned that waiting for safety was a mistake. Instead, we created early warning methods, shelters, and evacuation techniques. We learned to read the sky, the wind, and the signs of the land. Humans survived by turning observation into preparation. Your own species fought itself constantly, yes. Survival was not a given. It was earned day by day, generation by generation. Eli continued, gesturing to a holographic image of mountains and glaciers. High altitudes and frozen plains were deadly to humans. Thin air, freezing temperatures, and scarce food meant that survival required innovation. We developed clothing, shelters, and fire. We learned how to hunt, store food, and travel safely across ice and snow. Those who could not adapt perished. Those who could adapted faster than any other species could. Every extreme environment became a classroom. We built boats, learned to read currents, developed techniques to fish, and even learned to dive and hold our breath. Survival does not mean perfection. It means learning to handle what you face, no matter the weakness of your body. Yet the humans moved in groups, carrying simple tools, clothing, and water containers. Deserts taught humans endurance and patience, Eli explained. They taught planning and rationing. They forced humans to use knowledge instead of muscle alone. They forced humans to observe the world and make choices based on understanding, not instinct. It seems humans are survivors because they turn every danger into education. You are not naturally fast or strong. Surely some other species could match your intelligence and cooperation. Why humans? Why not another species? Every generation had to survive extreme challenges. That pressure created abilities no other species could match. Intelligence, awareness, cooperation, strategy, persistence, these were honed like blades on stone. Humans are not special because of strength or speed. We are special because of resilience. We endure what others cannot, and we learn from every encounter. Death is a teacher, and Earth is the strictest teacher of all. Every scenario showed humans making choices, cooperating, and overcoming danger. Velthin observed in silence. For the first time in his career, he wondered whether a species could truly survive a world that had so often been called impossible. Humans were proof that it could. Eli leaned forward slightly. And this is why humans can survive anywhere. Not because they are perfect, not because they are strong, but because Earth forced them to be clever, adaptable, and persistent. Other worlds give life chances. Earth demands life earn it. That is the difference. And when humans fail, we do not despair. We adapt. We try again. And over generations, we become capable of surviving anything. Velthane finally spoke. Cadet Carter, you have described survival in terms we have never considered. Intelligence, cooperation, and learning under constant threat. Your species is remarkable. And we survived it. He simply listened as the cadets left, the hum of the holograms fading behind them. The classroom had been transformed, not by weapons or force, but by the simple truth of survival. He thought quietly to himself. Earth had been cruel, it had been relentless, it had been impossible, and yet every challenge had forged humans into something the galaxy could never ignore. The day was not over, but Eli knew something profound had happened. The students, the instructor, and perhaps even the galaxy had glimpsed the reality that humans had always known. Survival was not about the planet giving life. It was about life taking what it could, learning, adapting, and refusing to stop. And in that understanding, humanity's reputation as fragile, small, or weak would begin to crumble. For those who faced them afterward, the galaxy would learn the same truth the cadets had just discovered. Humans did not merely survive Earth. Earth had trained them to survive anything. The lecture hall was emptying slowly, but Velthane remained seated, his attention fixed on Eli. Most cadets had left, carrying their murmurs of awe and disbelief into the corridors, yet a few stayed behind, hesitant, curious, unwilling to leave until they understood more. Velthane leaned back, his ridges shifting slightly, a sign of contemplation. "Cadet Carter," he said, "you have explained how humans survive extreme environments and dangers, but surviving is only part of life. Tell us about growth, how humans not only endure but expand their influence, their knowledge, and their reach. How does a fragile species conquer impossibility? Survival teaches us, yes, but survival also drives us to improve, to expand, to change our environment, and ultimately to explore beyond it. If rivers flooded or mountains were too high, we found another path or built a bridge. Every obstacle we faced forced us to innovate. Every limitation became a challenge to overcome, not a reason to give up. We learned to manipulate our environment. Fire gave us warmth, protection, and the ability to cook food. Shelter protected us from predators and weather. Tools allowed us to hunt, build, and defend ourselves. Humans do not rely solely on the body. We extend our abilities with intelligence and ingenuity. It does not prepare for the unpredictable. Humans survive not because we are perfect, but because we anticipate, adapt, and improve. But the mind allows us to see patterns, create strategies, and work together. That is why humans survived where others failed. Oceans that should have drowned us became highways, sources of food, and paths to new lands. When humans faced threats they could not control, we adapted culturally. Laws, rules, and traditions developed to protect the group. Knowledge was recorded, passed down, and improved over generations. Failure was analyzed, success was studied. We built on what came before instead of starting over each generation. That is how humans survived Earth, and why we could survive worlds far beyond it. Conflict was another teacher. It forced coordination, leadership, and strategy. Every war forced humans to innovate, to plan, and to adapt faster than we might have in peace. We learned to use not only our minds but our entire society as a tool for survival. Every loss became a lesson, every victory a demonstration of what could be achieved when humans worked together. That is why humans could not only survive Earth, but also expand beyond it. Navigation, construction, cooperation, and planning improved with every failure. Exploration was always dangerous, Eli explained. But humans faced the danger because curiosity and necessity demanded it. We did not wait for perfect conditions. Perfect conditions never existed. The world demanded action, and humans responded. And this is how humans began to reach beyond their world. Many had been raised to believe that strength and endurance were paramount. Now they saw a species that had survived not by brute force, but by intelligence, adaptability, and resilience. Eli gestured to a final series of holograms. Humans discovering agriculture, building cities, studying the stars, creating machines, and eventually leaving their planet to explore space. We did not only survive the planet, we transformed it. We learned to manage resources, control energy, and even modify our environment for our needs. Every human achievement was rooted in the need to survive, the need to adapt, the need to endure. Without survival as our foundation, we would have remained fragile, weak, and insignificant. Because Earth demanded resilience, humans became capable of anything. From the smallest tool to the farthest stars, we are the product of impossible challenges. For the first time in decades, Velthane felt something he rarely experienced: genuine uncertainty. He had studied thousands of worlds and species, classified countless planets as uninhabitable. Yet here, in the calm voice of a small human, was evidence that survival could defy all expectations. Eli added softly, "And this is why humans are not afraid of what other worlds might throw at them." Earth taught us fear, yes, but also mastery. We learned how to anticipate, how to react, how to innovate. Any species that survives Earth and uses that survival wisely can endure almost anywhere. They saw not a fragile species, but a species forged in adversity, trained to survive everything, and prepared to do more than anyone expected. Velthane finally spoke, his voice steady. "Cadet Carter, your explanation changes the way I will teach this class, and perhaps the way we view all species. Humanity is no longer merely a survivor. Humanity is a model of what adaptation, intelligence, and persistence can achieve. And in that image, every cadet understood why humans had survived. Eli remained standing a moment longer, letting the room absorb the lesson. Then he returned to his seat, calm, unassuming, yet carrying the weight of the truth he had shared. The galaxy's assumptions about humans had been incomplete. That truth would ripple farther than the walls of the lecture hall. Velthane rose, straightening his posture, and addressed the remaining cadets. This concludes our lesson on Earth and its effects on human evolution. Take these insights seriously. Understanding a species like humans requires more than observation. It requires recognition of what survival truly means. A world that should have destroyed life had created a species that could survive anywhere. Humans were no longer a subject of curiosity. They were a warning, a model, and a testament to what persistence, intelligence, and adaptation could achieve. Eli remained quiet. He did not boast or demand admiration. His work was done for now. The galaxy would eventually understand what humans had already known. Survival, when forced to its limits, could produce beings capable of overcoming anything. The lecture hall slowly emptied, leaving only the instructor and Eli. Velthane finally said, "Cadet Carter, your species has changed my understanding of survival. I will need time to adjust my teachings to reflect this reality. Perhaps it is time to reconsider what is possible." Velthane remained seated, still staring at the holographic Earth, as though trying to absorb the scale of what he had just learned. The planet rotated slowly, peaceful from a distance, yet teeming with unseen danger below. It was a world that had shaped a species capable of defying expectation. And that species, humans, sat quietly in the back row, calm, small, and unassuming, yet carrying the weight of every lesson Earth had forced upon them. Eli Carter did not speak at first. He had explained survival, adaptation, intelligence, and growth. He had described how humans turned impossible worlds into classrooms and challenges into training grounds. Now he waited, letting the instructor and the remaining cadets reflect on the truth. Velthane finally rose, his ridges twitching with a rare expression of contemplation. "Cadet Carter," he said, his voice quieter than usual, "you have demonstrated more than survival. You have explained why humans do not merely endure, they transform themselves and their worlds with every challenge. But tell me, what does that mean for the galaxy? What should other species understand from humanity? We are not the fastest, the strongest, or the most dangerous by birth, but we are capable of facing almost anything and surviving it. And when survival is no longer enough, we innovate. Shelters, clothing, weapons, agriculture, each invention was born from necessity. Each advancement allowed humans to survive longer and more safely. But the greatest invention was knowledge itself. Humans record experience, share it, and pass it down. We do not rely on instinct alone. We rely on reason, foresight, and cooperation. Every challenge we faced prepared us for the next one. No world has been able to break us because every impossible environment teaches us lessons we use to survive the next challenge. And still you endure and expand. How is that possible? And every danger, even when it strikes unexpectedly, becomes a lesson to prepare for the future. Look at the world we come from. It could have destroyed us countless times, and yet we survived. Cities rose where floods once swept away entire communities. Crops grew where droughts once claimed millions. Knowledge passed from generation to generation, never lost, never forgotten. Humans endured what should have killed us and used it to grow stronger. We used knowledge, planning, and cooperation to become capable of much more than mere endurance. That is why humans are now a species other worlds must recognize. Not because we conquer easily, but because we persist and innovate where others fail. Now they understood something deeper. Humans were not fragile. Humans were relentless, adaptive, and endlessly capable. Eli continued. And this is why humans are feared by some, admired by others, and often misunderstood. Humans are not the fastest or strongest species, yet we have traveled across oceans, tamed wild lands, built cities, and reached space. We did not wait for safety. We built it. We did not wait for opportunity. We created it. And we did not wait for perfection. We survived and improved in spite of everything. Earth forced humans to adapt or die. And through that constant pressure, humans became capable of almost anything. Every disaster, every predator, every disease, every storm, and every war was a teacher. We learn to face impossible odds and turn them into opportunity. That is why humans are not just survivors. Humans are prepared for any challenge the galaxy can offer. Velthane remained silent for a long moment, then said, "Cadet Carter, you have not only defended your species, you have redefined what it means to survive. You have shown us that intelligence, cooperation, and persistence can outweigh brute strength, speed, or instinct. You have proven that survival, when combined with learning, can create greatness. That is all humans have ever done, Instructor. We survive because we must. We endure because failure is not an option. And we improve because nothing less would allow us to continue. Humans were small, fragile in appearance, yet capable of survival and growth that far surpassed almost every other species in the galaxy." Velthane finally stepped back, looking around the hall at the remaining cadets. "Remember this lesson," he said. "Humanity is more than its size or appearance. It is a species forged by extreme adversity, shaped by challenges that would have destroyed others, and trained to endure, adapt, and innovate. To encounter humans is to encounter a species capable of survival against nearly any odds. Do not underestimate them." Humans were no longer merely subjects of study. They were a benchmark for what was possible under pressure, a warning and an example of the power of persistence. Eli sat quietly, listening as the instructor dismissed the remaining cadets. The hall emptied around him, but he did not move. He did not need recognition or praise. Humans had long learned that survival was its own reward, that endurance and adaptation were more important than acknowledgement. Velthane approached him slowly. "Cadet Carter," he said, his voice softer now, almost admiring, "the galaxy will not understand humanity as you do. Many will fear it, many will doubt it. But one day, perhaps, others will see what I see now. That humans are extraordinary because they were forged by a world that demanded perfection yet gave none. And in surviving, we show what any species is capable of if it refuses to give up. Humanity is proof that survival, learning, and persistence are stronger than any natural force. That is the difference. And because they could survive anywhere. They could endure anything. They could adapt, innovate, and overcome." As the doors of the lecture hall closed and the cadets departed, Eli remained seated for a moment longer, gazing at the rotating planet. He thought not of the dangers it held, but of the lessons it had given humanity. Every storm, predator, disease, and disaster had prepared them for the galaxy. Every challenge had been a teacher. Every failure had been a step toward mastery. And the galaxy, whether it realized it yet or not, would soon learn that humans were not fragile, small, or weak. Humans were persistent. Humans were clever. Humans were capable of surviving the impossible. Velthane finally left, leaving Eli alone in the hall. He had no doubt now that Earth had done what no other world could. It had produced a species capable of greatness beyond imagination. The lesson would ripple outward, through cadets, records, and eventually across the stars. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, species who had underestimated humanity would learn the same truth. Earth does not destroy life, it prepares it. And humans, forged by adversity, would endure everything the universe could throw at them.